out. I love it when you get a product and there's you Google it and there's hardly any recipes for that thing. It's like, sweet, I'm a pioneer.
Your search has yielded 4 results.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okra.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can keep that.
Yeah,
That's
same
it.
as caper berries and okra.
Oh,
Okra's
you
in
guys
the
are
same.
missing out.
So, no, mate.
Mate.
You can keep okra and eggplant. You can keep those.
I'm
for
a
the
texture
rest.
person.
Oh,
and
I'm going to turn both of you. I'm going to cook you. Next time I cook for you guys,
Mate.
you're eating okra and
I'm a bit of a...
Not eggplant. I'll take okra, but
I'm a stickler for texture, and okra is just...
it's that stickiness. There's something,
It's just slime.
but it just looks weird, even like when it's cooked. Oh,
Yeah.
anyway, that's- happy Monday to everyone. TK and our special guest, Matt Golinski.
Morning, fellas.
Hello, Matt.
Matthew,
How are you?
Very well, thanks.
It's good.
welcome to our humble abode.
Yeah, it's very nice in here.
It's nice in my house.
Nice, it's bigger than my house, so it's nice and cool. That's the other thing, which is very important. Matt, we thought we'd get together with you, just have a bit of a chat, see what's going on in your world at the moment. You know, Sunshine Coast local. You grew up here, didn't you?
Yeah, Palmwoods.
Palmwoods.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
It's about a 30-acre farm.
Right. Because it was and producing farm, right?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
was
I
it?
mean, it was pawpaws. It was originally a banana farm
Yeah.
when Mum and Dad bought it. That was 1978. And then banana, it also had, you know, a few hundred avocado trees and a few hundred macadamia trees and mangoes and all that sort of stuff, pawpaws as well. And then that was at that point when bananas were getting, you know, all the diseases. So
Yeah.
punchy top and Panama disease wiped through the whole area.
Yeah.
And so once that's in the ground, you can't grow
Can't get it
bananas
out.
for 30 years or something.
Really?
Wow.
So Dad went into pawpaws in
Yep.
a big way, and it was a tough thing to be into because the 30-acre farm of pawpaws up against a 2,000-acre farm in Bowen
Yep.
for pawpaws, and you're sending your 4 boxes to market
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
and they're sending 2 semi-trailers. It's hard to compete with that,
And that still exists these days, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
challenge,
definitely.
that kind of thing. So for
Yeah.
small producers.
But they got by. Mum
Yep.
and Dad got by, and struggled on through. It was a tough business to be in, but it was
Yeah.
a pretty good upbringing.
Yeah, I bet.
It was
Rolling around with a bit of land.
yeah, definitely climbing trees and riding
Yep.
motorbikes and
Actual being a child.
yeah.
You've gone back
definitely.
to your roots because you've got a
Yeah.
farm there too, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much come full circle. It's about 2 years ago we bought 14 acres in Kinkin, and it's just covered in fruit trees, and so I'm learning. Luckily, I've got Dad still lives in Karoi,
Yep.
and so
So
I'll
you
send
find,
him.
find a friend.
I'll send him like a picture of a bunch of bananas and go, "Is this ready to pick yet?" And, oh yeah. So yeah, he's got. I've got that backup knowledge there.
Yeah.
But it's been a really good, interesting journey. It brings home just how hard it is to grow food.
Yeah.
Makes you appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah.
Because you don't assume that you're going to be eating any of the fruit you're seeing until you're actually eating it. Anything can happen. Bats will come in and just destroy everything. We had, and that's the thing. Like you'll watch a fruit tree, a citrus tree, flower, and then you'll mulch it and you'll fertilize it and it'll flower and be beautiful, get covered in fruit. And then last week, like the citrus moth of death showed up and just stung all the lemons and all the lemonades. And you just go out one morning and they're all on the ground, all gone. And it's like, there you go. That's
That's
nature,
great.
isn't
We'll try again for next year.
it? Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So what do you do in that situation? Like, do you then have to spray, or do you have to change what you're doing?
You
Or
just learn from that.
Yeah.
Like, you instantly go, okay, cool. So the oranges haven't been stung yet. I'll throw a net over that tree.
Yeah.
And, you just accept that you're going to lose some stuff
Yeah.
along the way. But it's pretty interesting. And, we've got things at the moment like dragon fruits and figs and bananas and pumpkins and, all that stuff. And this morning I walked outside and we've got a fig on either side of our walkway, just covered in figs. And you walk out and just pick 2 figs off it, went back inside, fed half to my 6-year-old. I ate the other half. It's like,
good.
that's pretty
that's
special.
pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
know?
You've been beating the drum of local produce for forever, and it's kind of cool that you're not just talking it up, but you're walking the walk, right?
Yeah.
Like properly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm doing a sort of a farming summit in Kinkin on the weekend,
Yeah.
and I was like the other day, I was like, what am I going to give them to drink? And I went, I've got like 100 wild guava trees that are all fruiting. Went out yesterday, picked about 5 kilos, put them into a pot with fresh lemon myrtle leaves off the tree, sugar, and just made cordial. It's like, yeah, imagine going to a conference where somebody had made you guava and lemon myrtle cordial.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Cost me nothing.
Yeah.
So but it cost me nothing but my time.
And is the idea to sell?
No,
No, it's
I
just
don't
for you.
think so.
Yeah.
There'll be times I've just, bought myself 6 months ago a food van, and that's part of it. It's like, okay, if I've got extra heaps and heaps of mangoes, then I can do something with the food van.
Related,
or-
like what? Like what? What's the plan? Like to go somewhere or to set up or?
Don't really have one yet.
Yeah, okay.
It was kind of.
Well, that makes three of us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I sort of bought it on a bit of a whim. I
Got
just
excited.
a food van would be good to have at my place, so that for a start, I've got a kitchen.
Yeah.
I can just open the door and walk into, and if I need to make a recipe for somebody or whatever it is, if I can tow it to someone's place and cater for their birthday party and whatever. I don't,
So there's a lot of
but
flexibility.
I'm not planning on doing your Monday markets every Wednesday and Saturday. That's not part of my plan.
That's disappointing. I'm very upset about that. But anyway.
But, occasionally just going, okay, I've got heaps of this. I'm going to do 300 serves of something, show up to the Kin markets or wherever, or to Torella or wherever it happens to be, and just go, it's amazing. And just go, okay, this is the thing that's on today.
Yeah.
There's not a choice of, 10 different things. It's
Mango
like, this is the
cones.
dish. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Dang.
I think it's almost that old school thing. It's like, restaurants first started, when basically people opened their houses to travellers and you'd eat what they were cooking for themselves. And it's like, it's because they're eating what was ready in their garden at that time or the animal that happened to be, processed that day or whatever it may be. So I think that's kind of going back to the roots a little bit.
It is. So. And it kind of drives your creativity. 'Cause it's like, this is what I've got to work with. Okay, I'm going to do this.
It's almost like a mystery box.
It is, yes.
But you've lived like 100 lives, mate, because you've been in the restaurant game as a head chef, you've been catering, you've been on TV. Like, it's a hell of a career you've had today.
Yeah, thanks.
Like, I remember back when were you the head chef at Ricky's after Gareth, right?
Yes, there was a head chef in between us,
Right.
Fiona, and Gillanders, and she was awesome. So I went there, I worked there for about a year.
Because that's really cemented your career on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah,
right? Like
that was
Ricky's,
amazing.
You did some great food there.
It was such a good place to work, and it was, to me, it was kind of like the last of that real hospitality, like that place that people would show up there straight from the plane from Melbourne or Sydney with their suitcases and leave them in the walkway.
They want to come there.
They'd spend all day there. It was like, and you'd walk in and, it's definitely only with such great hosts, It's like, I really miss those days. And it was a training ground for me, really. There's so many things that I didn't know yet that I just, that I learnt in that place. And I had a great audience of those sort of diners that were, let's feed us whatever you want,
And it was back then, and probably still is to a degree now, I suppose, that local market is critical for even those restaurants, because if you only rely on tourism, and back in those days, I should say, I think Noosa was probably a little bit more cyclical. Like now it's probably a lot more evened out, right? So it was very peak and trough.
There was a raft of great restaurants in Noosa.
Yeah.
There
not
was,
not just the 3 or 4 that there's there now. I mean,
Definitely.
It was crazy. They were great times. Up there. Noosa was. I mean, and it still is held in such high regard regarding food and restaurants. But back then, the talent pool was deep.
In terms of staff.
Yeah, staff and just restaurants.
Yeah.
Like it started at the top of Noosa Hill.
Yep.
What was that one on the left-hand side as you're coming down the hill? It was shaped as an A-frame.
Oh, Artis.
How good was
It
that?
was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was epic.
It's a lot of those places, they almost felt like they were kind of ahead of their time a little bit if you look back now, which is, it's kind of a weird statement saying that, because they were of that time because they existed.
Yeah,
So,
River House. And it was just, there was so many.
the good old days.
Yeah, it makes me feel really old. So are you both.
Yeah.
So just don't laugh.
Thanks.
No, Benjamin
Thanks
Button.
for reminding me.
With that, obviously, growing up on the Sunshine Coast now, would you consider Kin still part of the Sunshine Coast?
Yeah, definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's Noosa
I just wanted
hinterland.
to-
Thank
oh,
you.
sorry.
Yeah, that's how we're crazy.
It's
Crazy
Noosa.
land prices by
I was
calling it
gonna
Noosa hinterland.
It's Noosa Hinterland when you listed on realestate.com for sure.
Definitely.
The changes that you've seen in the industry at that time, over that time, is there one in particular that sort of sticks out to you that's sort of like in terms of massive change, or just is there been a sweeping thing, or what's been exciting to watch over the last 20 years, 30 years?
Oh, gee, I don't know. To me, cooking now doesn't make sense unless I know where the ingredients have come from. That's just the focus of how I cook now. It's like, okay, what am I going to cook for this thing? Right, ring up all my farmers and people and say, can I have this? What have you got?
Yep.
And work out a menu based around that. So to me, and that it's that access to local ingredients, and like in the old days, it was like, yeah, I really want to use it, but I also don't want to have to drive to Gympie to get it.
Yeah.
Now there's all these farmers who are doing 2 trips a week or a trip a week into Noosa and dropping off stuff, and so it's made it easier for chefs to get hold of stuff. So
Access.
it's like a critical mass, almost like they've like people that want the stuff. So therefore, it's worth it while somebody actually doing a journey to drop it off instead of everyone going out and trying to get it themselves. So
which just isn't practical.
No, it's not practical at all. You waste a whole 2 days running around getting stuff. So to me, that's probably that's the most exciting change is that the chefs want it and customers want it as well.
Yeah.
They want to have the story, I suppose. What's where's their food come from?
Yeah.
Who's made it? Who's grown it?
I think the who is a big part of it. And I know from a wine perspective, it's always a thing. It's like, I've always said, stories sell wine.
Definitely.
It's not about stainless steel tanks or trellising systems or boring technical data.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all. If you're the nerd, if you're that 0.001% of the person that wants to know that information, that's there if you want it. But I think that most people will buy into something when they believe in the story.
Definitely.
And it's about the people and the place.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a critical thing. And it's great to hear that I think that people are asking for that, like in the market as well.
Definitely.
But that has to come from the chefs as well, right? That's probably the most important thing, is the chefs asking for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost a buy-in from the whole team, really, as well. There's no point in the chefs knowing about it. The front of house staff need to know about it as well. And
I remember one of the things, like working in restaurants, and when you knew it was review season, one of the biggest things was making sure everyone knew where everything come from, because that was definitely questions that they would ask. Like, oh, tell me about the fish. Where did it come from? And as soon as someone asks that question, you're like, well, hello, we could be on here. But if you don't have the team knowing as well, like, it's great. Like you said, if the chef knows it, he's out the back, she's out the back cooking, and it doesn't translate through. It's like, it's just a waste of time. Yeah.
One of the best things we did is we created a small kitchen garden at my place for the restaurants. So I'd say 3/4 of the basil that Boca uses comes from my place. We got a greenhouse and we seed, and then we grow it out there. And I tell you, a highlight of me last year was I was pulling out of my gate early in the morning, and Graham, who looks after the kitchen garden, sang out and said, "Oh, are you going to Boca?" I said, "I'm going there right now." He gave me 10 bunches of basil, so my car smelled like basil for 2 weeks. Then I walked into Harry, I gave it to him, and I did a bit of a loop. I was back at about 11:30, and the apprentice was making pesto from the basil, and he'd just finished rolling some orecchiette straight into the water, scooped the pesto out of the mortar into a bowl, tossed it, and gave it to me with a shave of pecorino over. So I can shut my eyes right now, I can still taste
I can taste that, actually.
It was unfucking believable.
Yeah.
And like literally 4 hours before that, the basil was sitting in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
Then the chefs will ask Graham or Alan if they could can you plant some yarrow? Can you plant some Thai basil?
Yeah.
And when they ask to see the time period, the energy and effort it takes for the boys to plant it, grow it out without everything trying to eat it all the time, and then get it into a basket and then get it to the restaurants. By the time it's there, you can see the appreciation and the fascination in their face.
Definitely.
And those creative juices, it's a real thing, right? Because when they can put it on the plate and they're like, I asked for that to be grown, and now I'm garnishing a plate, or like it adds an element of special to it that I think is really important.
And there's a bit of that up here, like Falls Farm. Obviously, dealt with them for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Right? That's the same thing. You can go to them and say, "Hey, can you try this?" And I know, like Cam Matthews has been doing that for years with them, and sort of asking them to plant the most random vegetables he can possibly find. I actually reckon he goes through the dictionary and just finds words.
What's the hardest?
And
thing
he goes,
to grow
"What's
in the
exactly
sunshine?"
right? What can't you grow? I'll take 4 of those. Thanks very much." So,
Definitely.
but that's pretty unique to here as well. We are in a great spot for produce, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Seafood, obviously, but then we've got really really great beef really close by, you got great pigs.
Yep.
There's plenty of things all over the place. Like you said, avocados, particularly up the range. You've got some amazing farms still up there that I think that a lot of that stuff, as you said, probably was something else, and then it's morphed into
an hour and a half from here, Gatton, basically. Try and find some salad that's
Well, that's a fruit
not
bowl,
broken,
isn't it? Yeah.
You know, like we live in a special place, that's for sure.
What's something you've used recently that just blew your mind, ingredient wise? Is there anything? I mean, the fig story from this morning sounds pretty good, to be honest.
I really want figs now.
Yeah, that sort of stuff is good. I mean, yeah, one of the good things that, you know, I guess that helps drive your creativity is having like access to stuff that you haven't really had a chance to use very much before. So I've had this year things like grama chamas, which is like a Brazil cherry.
I was going to say, you're going to have to say that word again and potentially
So
spell it as well.
And it's like, you know, you don't ring up the fruit and veg guy and go, yeah, I have 3 kilos of grama chamas. You've got a tree that's covered in them, you know. It's like, oh, yeah, cool, what do I do with these? You know, things that like Brazilian cherries as well. They're little red lanterny looking ones.
Right.
Tree full of those. So just, you know, freeze them down and or turn them into sauces or whatever. You know, there's always something unusual or different that I'm things like jaboti carbas. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. What do you do with the jaboti carba? Okay, cool. Let's work it out. Let's have a play with it.
Okay,
So
what is that? Just for those playing at home that don't know, and also me.
It's a South American fruit that's looks. I guess the easiest way to describe it is a grape.
Okay.
You know, it's like
I'm familiar with those.
Yeah, you know those ones. I was talking to someone recently about them, and they reckon that if they'd discovered jaboti carbas before they discovered the grapes, they would have just made all wine from those.
Really?
Yeah, because they're just such a good fruit to turn into wine.
They're pretty sturdy, are they? Or?
Yeah. But yeah, things like that. I mean, and there's always, that's the other thing. There's always producers that I know who are going, hey, Matt, because they know I'll be interested in stuff. It's like, hey, Matt, you want to try these?
Yep.
Give me some of these to try. And it's like, okay, cool. What can I do with them?
Yeah.
You know, get to know that product better. You know, I've got farmers who grow things like tomatillos and poblano peppers and okra and, you know, rosellas. And there's just so many different things that you can do with them. And you know, it's just about finding them out. I love it when you get a product and there's you Google it and there's hardly any recipes for that thing. It's like, sweet, I'm a pioneer.
Your search has yielded 4 results.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okra.
Yeah.
You can keep that.
That's it. It's caper berries and okra.
Oh,
Okra's in the same.
missing out.
So, no, mate. You can keep okra and eggplant. You can keep those for
I'm
the
a texture
rest.
person.
I'm going to turn both of you. I'm going to cook you. Next time I cook for you guys, you're eating okra and
I'm a bit of a...
Not eggplant. I'll take okra, but
I'm a stickler for texture, and okra is just...
it's that stickiness. There's something.
It's just slime.
But it just looks weird, even like when it's cooked. Oh, anyway, that's,
Cooking in the States for many years, and the jambalayas and
Yeah.
you know things like that. You'll get it, and it'll be this big slimy.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, this is a good example. Like, I've, you know, farmer out in Waluga who grows okra, and they send it all around Australia because there's markets like Indian market, African market, all that sort of stuff. So they're crying out for it. But for me, it's like, okay, they know, CC and Greg out there at Peterson's Farm, they know that I only want it to be like 1.5 inches long.
Yeah.
So when they're small, they're not very slimy.
Yeah.
You just cook them whole. As long as you don't cut them, you never cut the ends off them, you never cut them in half. Cook them whole.
Keep the
and
slime
just
in.
Keep the slime in. That's it.
I was kind of joking. I just nailed it.
That's exactly what it is. That mucilaginousness doesn't come out if they're left whole. So it's like, yeah, cool. So when they pick them for
Lock
me, they're
that
like,
shit
here you go,
down.
Matt.
a
Here's
great
your
word.
ones.
Yeah.
Can you say that word again?
No.
It's going to be my new.
Really had a stroke saying it the first time.
I'm not going to ask you to spell that one. That's you're on your own there. But, and so at the moment, you're doing a heap of different things, right?
Yep.
So you're not based in one place
No.
apart from home. So what's a day look like? What's a week look like? Is there a normal?
No, there's no normal ever.
I kind of guess that.
Yeah. And which is good in a way. Sometimes I dream of having a job where I just go and do the job and then go home.
Would you go back into restaurants?
I don't think
yourself?
so.
No.
I mean, yeah, maybe one day. You know, I've got a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old daughter. You know, and it's like, no, I don't need that at the moment.
Yep.
You know, I'd rather be a dad.
Yep.
Than, you know, get into that feeling like I need to prove that I'm a chef by having a restaurant. It's like, no, I don't need to do that. I can just like live this lifestyle for a while. I'm still busy. I'm still away a lot.
Yeah.
But when I'm home, it's like, I'm being
Focus.
dad.
Yeah.
Because you travel a lot, right?
Yeah, it's been probably 10 years of that now, of just like, and it just comes randomly. It's not work I go looking for. It's like people would just email me and go, hey, Matt, you want to come do this? And I go, well, that sounds good. I'll do that, and often it's this, I'll go and do a job in Whoop Whoop and they'll go, hey, yeah, cool, that was great, Matt. You want to come back next year?
Yeah.
I just did Glen Innes a couple of weeks ago. I was down there for
Bustling metropolis of
their
Glen Innes.
Oh, it's beautiful. That was such
it's a nice part of the world.
and it was cool. That was the best thing about it. It wasn't hot for once.
A couple more weeks, it'd be fucking snowing.
It'd be snowing, yeah. But, it was beautiful. There's another region that I hadn't, I know Stanthorpe, but I'd never spent a lot of time in Glen Innes. It's like, go down there, meet about, 15 new producers that are doing things that we don't do here because it's a different climate.
Well,
There's a lot of nuts and
temperature down there.
Yeah, really good olives, olive oil.
That's, all that in
Pecans.
the 40s and when, a lot of Italian immigrants came into Australia post-war and a lot ended up in that sort of part of the world. And,
absolutely.
Italians are great. Whenever they go anywhere, they just take whatever they had at home. Go, well, we're going to plant this.
Yeah.
Does it work? We'll give it a crack. So
Some
that's
of the biggest nut farms in Australia out there.
Really?
Yeah, God, yeah, fuck yeah. Massive farms.
Right. What kind of nuts? All of them?
Walnuts, pecans in particular.
Really?
Yeah. I remember going out there on a very small plane with David Rayner, and it was good. It was good fun, but
You have a parachute?
no, no.
I always love those planes where they weigh you before you get on.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
like,
That's good.
No,
isn't it?
thanks.
Yeah.
Particularly.
Oh,
A bit
mate.
daunting, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. To get to those places, you got to go. You got to make a concerted effort to get there, which is
Definitely.
positive and negative, and that also explains some of the challenges these producers have in getting to market.
Yeah.
I remember again years and years ago with dealing with producers on the Granite Belt, and I could get wine from other countries quicker than I could. This is in Brisbane, so it's 3 hours away. But I would order a carton of wine, and it'd arrive 2 weeks later, or it'd be like, "Oh, I'm not coming down again until September. Can I bring it then?" It's like, that's not how the world works, mate. And that's one of the challenges though, because it is, it's in a region like that where it is distant, it's not too far, but it's an effort to get there.
Yeah.
And then you find something you like, and then you can't get it. It's like it's this massive handbrake. So.
Yeah, I think. I mean, from my point of view, I've seen that change a lot, and also years of developing relationships with people and making the effort to go to their farms and see what they do. Like, I can call up my caper lady in the Bunya Mountains and go, "Hey, Mandy," or just email her, "Hey, Mandy, can you put 2 kilos of capers in the mail?"
Yep.
And they'll be on my doorstep 3 days later.
Yeah.
She'll just be like, "Yeah, cool. I'll drive down to the post office and get them away."
Yeah.
And same with olives. I just ordered those the other day from Millmerran out near Toowoomba.
Yeah.
So they'll be here tomorrow. So it's not sort of a problem so much anymore. If you want stuff, and you've got that relationship where you can just text people and go, "Hey, I want this." They'll if there's that beautiful mutual respect for each other,
Yeah.
then they'll go out of their way to make sure you get your staff quickly and efficiently.
And that takes time to develop those relationships as
it
well, because
does.
you've got to develop that trust.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm actually here to help you. I actually want to use this product. I'm not trying to smash you. I'm not trying to take it off your hands for nothing, or all those kind of things. And I think that's one of the things about potentially as we get older. Those relationships just get better and better because you've been dealing with them longer. And I mean, I've got certainly wine suppliers that they're mates.
Yeah,
they're you turn it into friends, because you've got shared lots of things, and then all of a sudden it's like, right, we're just friends now.
Yeah.
And every now and then I'm going to call you and order some wine potentially, or ask for some free wine or whatever it may be, so, depending on who it is. So, So the travel, it's mainly Australia, right? You do too much overseas anymore, or no?
Overseas.
Yeah.
No.
Is that a good
and most
thing?
of my stuff is Queensland.
Yeah.
I'm going to Moree on a plate straight after Beef Week.
Yep.
And that's pretty much the furthest, into New South Wales that I've been. Not that I don't want to. It's just that I'm a Queensland boy, I suppose, and that's what people, when they're doing all these events and stuff like that, they're like, "Yep, let's get a Queensland kid."
What about Beef Week? Like, let's call
So, I was going to say, it's the same thing.
That's a weapon of events, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's huge.
How did it start?
I guess it's like an industry thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a government, it's
Like
paid
DPI
for by the
driven
government.
sort of thing,
Yeah, so it's it's an international show basically of people fly in from all over the world to be schmoozed into signing a contract. Yeah, buy this beef,
Yeah.
and it's a networking thing. I guess it's I kind of joke that it's schoolies for cow copies because they all come in just in a week. It's
Another Eka.
It's great. Like
I know a few people who would agree with you there.
yeah, and but it's great. All those sorts of events where you go to those things and there's lots of different chefs there as well. It's a great way to get to know.
Yep.
Proper world
Yeah,
touted chefs, right?
definitely. Yep.
Unbelievable event.
Yeah, it is.
And it's funny that a friend of mine, he's got a mining company, and he flew a jet up there, but he reckons that the Rockhampton airport looked like Vegas, like jet after
private
jet
jets,
after jet after jet. It was crazy.
Imagine. Yep.
I remember when Shane Bailey, is he still doing it?
He's going to be up there actually.
'Cause he was saying how he was telling me about it when he first started doing it, and I was like, oh yeah. And then he was like, oh, Curtis Stone's going, and I was like, fucking did some research on it.
To
Get
there.
some significant
Yeah.
players going up there, and the amount of people that just flock into Rocky, it's crazy.
Definitely, yeah. People move out of their house for the week
And rent it out.
They go on holidays, then it gets paid for by them renting out their house for a week.
Genius.
You can't get any accommodation there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. It's a huge thing, and I feel, I did 2015, 2018.
Yep.
And then I feel sort of privileged that I get to go again. Really, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's nice to be a part of it.
You'd see some great product too up there, right?
Yeah.
Those guys would be trying to show off to the world.
The best, yeah.
You do, yeah, and from my point of view, I guess I like that getting to meet other chefs and see their perspective on, it's all like, okay, 10 chefs come here, do a lunch or a dinner for 160 people using just beef and all different cuts of beef. And while you're there, you're seeing what all these other people, if I said to you, come up with a beef dinner, 3-4 courses of beef for 160 people, and, you'd have a completely different idea what that would look like to what I would. So, and so it is everyone there. So it's cool to see how everybody approaches that. Yeah. And it, as usual, everyone sort of pitches in and helps each other. So you end up with that little,
camaraderie,
little bit of bonding over those few days. Sort of thing.
Great.
So yeah, it's good.
What's the best dish you've seen there? Is there anything that you've just gone, I would never have thought of that? Or someone do like beef ice cream or something ridiculous?
Yeah, probably. There was a dish. Oh, well, I don't know, it was the last one or the one before, but Alvin. I can't remember his last name.
Oh, the Iron Chef.
No.
He's a proper rock star, right?
Yeah. Alvin is so funny. Yeah, but we were helping him plate his dish, and we it's like this tendon that had been dehydrated and then fried, and then these short ribs. He'd done all this. It was really nice cooking. It was excellent. But the last thing that we sprinkled on it as it went out was MSG. It's like pure bowl of MSG. Yeah, sprinkle some of that on it. It's like, I don't know if we're supposed to do that, but all right, cool, that's awesome.
Yes, chef.
There's 160 people that are calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning asking for their 10 litres of water.
Yeah. You do see some pretty cool stuff there. Chef Sakai, the Iron Chef, is going to be coming back this time, which is
Is he really?
Yeah,
Wow, that's
The
cool.
original Iron
Yeah.
Chef.
He's about 80 years
He's
old.
got to be old.
Speaks not a word of English, but we've done stuff together, me and him, at different things in the past. So it'll be
That's
nice
cool.
to, we've got a nice little relationship, even though neither of us can speak each other's language.
Yeah.
It's like, so it'll be good to see him and see what he does.
Yeah. And then Maury after that?
Yes, I fly straight back in on Thursday and then fly Friday out to Moree on a plate. So that'll be, it'll be. I love that sort of challenge, and it's fun to do that.
Yeah.
Be exhausted at the end of it.
Yeah. But
know,
it's that short-term stuff, so it's sort of hard and fast,
Yeah.
and then you can take a breather and reset.
Definitely, yeah.
So with that in mind, like what you've been doing like recently, 2020 must have kicked you in the butt a bit because all those events just got crucified, right? They just didn't happen.
Absolutely.
What did you do?
I just made sourdough and beer like
right.
everybody else. No, I did actually.
Did you start it? Or
Yeah, it might have been my fault. No, look, I guess, lucky enough that, I just laid low for a while and tightened the belt a little bit, and I didn't have a restaurant you know, like Tony did, that I was trying to keep alive through it all and staffing and everything else. It was just me. So I was like, okay, cool. I just won't do anything. You know, I just had enough money in the bank to scrape on through until it all kicked off again. And it really, to me, it didn't seem to take that long before I was back. I don't think, you know, it was probably September, and there was all the events were coming back.
I think we were lucky, particularly on the Sunshine Coast. That's great that that's the case, you know, because obviously other parts of the world and south in you know, like Melbourne, my family in Melbourne, it was a challenge, real serious challenge for them. But then 2022 as well, you took a couple of months off just to sort of chill and sort of regroup.
Yeah, after leaving Peppers. So I was at Peppers for 5 years, and that was a great experience. I loved being there, and I loved the crew there. That was the main thing. It's hard when you're in a situation like that for 5 years. You're working with all these people, and then you don't see them anymore.
Yeah,
you know? And I didn't want to be like the toolie that shows up at the school gate. Or, you know,
Hi guys.
I was just like, no, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
I drop in there every now and then and see everybody, but it's you know, it was sort of like losing the family sort of thing.
Yeah. It's like when something is such a big part of your life for such a long period of time, there's going to be, you've got to go through a process.
5 years in the restaurant game. That's
that's 400 years.
10 years, 20 years.
You get a Victoria Cross for 6, I think.
Yeah,
so, you know.
definitely. But I just reached a point with that where, you know, and it was after COVID and everything else. It, you know, it never really kind of came back from where it was, and I felt like you know, that was when we moved to the farm.
Yep.
And we just had Tilly.
Yep.
You know, it was like, okay, something's got to give here, and you know, I felt like I'd done pretty much all I could do there at Peppers, and it was time to move on. But then since then, it's one of those things that's like, I'm going to just take it a bit easier, and then it just something's always coming in.
Yeah. The universe has a way of putting things in front of you, doesn't it?
Definitely. So. And it's nice to be able to pick and choose as well. To just be able to go, I do want to do that. That interests me.
Yep.
I'll experience that and be able to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm booked that weekend.
Yeah. So there's no such thing as a normal week, in inverted commas?
No, I mean, last week was kind of writing stories for Noosa magazine and Hello Sunshine magazine, which I've been doing for something like 10 years or something now. It's really hard to write a 800-word story about autumn when you've already done it 9 times before. I've been thinking about that. Don't worry.
Well, don't worry. On one of our recent episodes, we did talk about technology and the industry and what's going to happen, and that came up. And TK, as we were recording, said, "Write me a wine list for a bistro." So basically did me out of a job.
Oh, wow.
I mean, not quite, but it's pretty scary, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Very, very scary. But it is, and that's the thing, when you're doing something like that, and it's awesome you've been doing that for so long, but how do you keep it fresh? Like, how do you keep reinventing it when you've done the same thing 9 times? What do you do?
Yeah, well, I kind of try and relate when I'm writing a story to, you know, things that experiences that I've had, and so
ChatGPT will never
can't know. That's it.
Can't ring your farmer up and go,
no, that's
exactly how's your crop this autumn compared to last? You know.
Yep, exactly it. Yeah.
That's scary though,
Yeah.
because I reckon they probably can start ringing people pretty soon. That's the challenge.
Probably. Yep.
Oh, that's absolutely horrible. I want to chat quickly about Erin.
Yeah.
Because she's obviously been a big part of your life for, what, 10, 12 years now?
Yeah, pretty much 12 years.
Yeah. And, you know, obviously, you know, got you through some challenges. 2 kids now.
Yep.
2 girls.
Yep.
How's that work?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean,
got a male dog or anything like that?
Yeah, Royce is there for me. We've got 2 female dogs and 1 male dog, so it's just me and Royce, really.
Yeah.
And Doug the pig as well.
Doug the pig?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you get kicked out, they'll come and sympathise with you.
Yeah,
Right?
pretty much.
Pig house rather than the doghouse?
Yeah, look, I almost, you know, to me, I've always had girls, so there's 5 girls in my life, and I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
I like having girls. They're cuddly and sweet and nice, and it's and they're pretty beautiful girls as well. I'm pretty lucky we scored good there.
Yeah.
You know, against all odds as well. I wasn't really supposed to have any more babies, so
that was like really against the odds, right?
Yeah, it totally was. I mean, some people know the story, but it was basically after the burns and everything else. I'd met Erin. We'd been going out for a few years, and then we were trying for babies and nothing was happening. So they checked me and they said, no, sorry, mate, there's no way you're having babies. Like you've got 0 sperm count, nothing. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I went through a string of, different people, different specialists and things like that. And the final guy that I went to said, he looked at all the charts and everything else, and results of blood tests and everything. He's like, no. He said, there's one thing we could do. He said, I could, put you under general anaesthetic, and I'll just go in there with the microscope and see if I can find any loose ones floating around.
It's the bottom of the bag, literally.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what he did. So I went,
Thinking about Matt Golinski's scrotum in my head. I'm trying to get
definitely. Yeah, I'll show you it after.
Please, Corey. No tonic, just a bunch of ice.
Can we just make sure that everyone caught the fact that you just said that you'll show him after?
Yes.
That's the bit that might be an up later and after dark episode.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So,
all right, no, you don't have to see it.
But from that.
So I did, okay, cool, if that's what it's going to take, then do that. Did the general, woke up from that expecting him to say, sorry, mate, didn't find anything. And he said, I found 14 sperm.
Like
individual sperm. So they froze them down. And then Erin had to go through getting her eggs. And then from that, those two, so we got 3 embryos and 2 of them worked bang straight away. So
wow,
it was really, one of those things where you just don't expect it to actually happen. Yeah. And these are
that's when it's meant to happen.
I was going to say, totally. If you believe in fate, and that's it, right? Against all the odds, you got a couple of little girls running around.
Yeah, that's cool. Right. And, to me, and that was part of the whole moving to the property as well. It's like, that's how I grew up, and that's how I'd like them to grow up. And for them to see them running around and like just picking wild raspberries and eating them off the bush, or not wanting to eat a fig.
Yeah.
It's like they just eating them up, dragon fruits, whatever. They just love it. So.
And they're active. They're like literally running around. And that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Down the monkey bars most of the day.
Good story, mate.
Yeah.
Well done.
Sorry about the scrotum thing.
Yeah. So you should.
No, you're not.
Sorry.
Just the visual is probably enough.
We'll move on.
We might have to edit that, Corey, but maybe not.
Scrotum.
So I'm going to rename the title of this episode. Matty G's. I mean, we did. Yeah, I'm going to blame TK. He started talking about nut farms, and then all of a sudden, this is where we are. It's not a long bow. Growing up on a farm, is that what set you up to cook?
Yeah, I pretty much put it down to that.
Yeah.
I mean, from my childhood, I sort of reached probably 8 years old, I reckon, and went, I'm going to be a chef. So to me, I think it probably was a lot to do with that, being just surrounded by stuff. If I was eating pawpaws, then they were like the best pawpaws, or avocados, they were the best avocados. So it was that access to and exposure to just really good stuff.
Yep.
That I think probably had a big influence.
Did your parents cook?
No, I don't have the story of the sitting on my nonna's knee making gnocchi or anything like that. No, not at all.
Not really?
No. I mean, Mum wasn't a terrible cook. And
what a wonderful compliment.
No,
Who cooks at home now?
I do.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Always?
Yeah, pretty much. Probably 90% of the time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I love it.
I was going to say, that system, you still love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So I cook every night at home too.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's actually getting to eat it yourself is pretty nice.
Kids, I tell you.
They are.
There's no filter.
Yeah.
Or when the barbecue sauce comes out, you hold back the rage.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it is slightly disappointing, but it's parenthood, isn't it?
But yeah, you just got to accept that as
I
well.
confit a lamb shoulder the other day, and it took all day Sunday, and I babied this thing. It was just mint. And I walked out of the pantry, and my daughter's there with the barbecue sauce. Can you just stick it on a sandwich instead? Like,
pretty good sandwich.
Oh God!
I went to a party on the weekend, and it was a make your own pizza party at a chef's house. So you can imagine it. I mean, Jake Nicholson, he had 400
Brasola.
Seriously, there was everything. So there was absolutely everything you could possibly imagine on a pizza, and there was one. It was an Italian theme, and there was one Italian guy there. And so I'm like, pineapple on everything, and he's about to kill people. But I made one pizza, and people might fight me for this, but it was the best. And it had barbecue sauce all over it. It's talk dry, drink sweet. Everyone loves sweet. Everyone loves sugar of some kind. So just that little bit. There was 400 types of meat on there. It was great. It was fantastic. And I think that's the thing for me is like that. Those shared experiences of sharing a meal and cooking together and that kind of stuff. I mean, Jake did all the work. We just turned up and pretended to throw a pizza around and put it in an amazing oven and watch it cook. But that's what food is for me. I love that concept of sharing food and just having a good time. And, you know, whether there's new friends, old friends, whatever, if you can break bread with someone, it's such a wonderful thing.
Human beings need
Absolutely.
that, mate. We learnt that over COVID.
Yeah.
That the participation of sharing food around a table is something that human beings need, I reckon. And not necessarily just at your house. People need restaurants, they need bars, they need a place to sit around a table, break bread, enjoy a glass of wine, and there's something about it. It's really primal, I think.
I agree. And you can't... It's interesting you say that about you need restaurants, because I think you're right. Like, well, I mean, certainly from my point of view, I can't have 10 people at my house. It's just not going to fit. You know, somewhere. So it's like, well, we have to go somewhere if we want to catch up with more than one person.
Yep.
So, or 2 people, 3 people, whatever it may be. So, and then you throw kids into the mix as well. And it's like, this is a whole other thing. I mean, I'm fortunate now. My son's a lot older, and he knows what he's doing when he goes out to eat. Certainly does when I take him out. That's for sure. I'll take the $65 steak. Thanks very much. That's 150 grams sirloin now, probably. But I mean, there is something enjoyable about that you can't get anywhere else. Nothing's going to give you that buzz, I think, and I love those memories. So when did you actually start cooking then? So it wasn't. I'm guessing they didn't put you to work at 8.
No, but Mum and Dad would be out on the farm and they'd come home and I'd have cooked something.
Really?
Just randomly,
And was it good?
Oh, I don't know. They might have just been being nice.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to know when you're a kid, but by the time I'd hit high school, by grade 8 in Nambour High School, I was ready and raring to do any subject that had anything to do with cooking. So
really?
I was like, dead set.
And did you get access? Was there cooking?
Yeah.
You could do it, or?
Yeah, I was forced to do 6 months of sewing before I got to home ec.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't handy.
Please tell me there's an example of your sewing somewhere.
Yeah, no, I still haven't finished my pair of shorts yet. They're probably still in a cupboard somewhere.
Nambour State School's hospitality area was probably a little bit lacking back in those days.
Yeah, the old chipboard cupboards and the, everything
Same
else.
as Maroochydore High.
Yeah, it was good, and I loved it. I was just threw myself into that as soon as I was allowed to cook at school. That was all I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Apart from being a rock star, so I was in a band as well, and that
Instrument?
Singer,
Excellent.
lead singer, First Offenders.
First Offenders.
Yeah, I'm sure it's still engraved in some of the desks at Nambour High School.
Not by you, obviously. Someone else would have done that, so definitely not.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you still sing?
No, I don't. I still play music. I grew up with my mum playing guitar, so I started playing guitar early. Then I learned cello for 3 years at primary school.
Yep.
And then when I got to high school, that wasn't very cool to play the cello. So then I started playing the bass and, the drums and different things.
Yeah.
So I know how to play lots of instruments a little bit, but
Yep.
I've never had the discipline to, get really good
Nail
at
one.
anything. But one thing that happened when I had the burns and I was in hospital for 4 months or whatever, they had for the first 2 months while I was unconscious, I had a trachea in my throat so I could breathe, and that's messed up my vocal cords. Yeah, it's like there's scar tissue or something.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time that I realised it was with Alistair McLeod at somewhere in South Brisbane, and we were doing karaoke together. And I suddenly went, oh no, I can't actually
do
sing
this.
anymore.
Sorry, he can't either, so it's fine.
No,
So-
yeah, exactly right.
Sorry, Al.
But so no more singing for me.
And the girls' musical?
They've been certainly surrounded by
Yep.
instruments their whole lives. So yeah, Aluna right from the start, got her in the drum kit, and
Yep.
she's got her own electric guitar now and plays the ukulele. And
wow.
it's she's 6 years old.
Yeah.
She's got an attention span of about 8 seconds.
So she's like, mate, there's 4-year-olds in the same boat. So
So yeah, but hopefully, by surrounding her with instruments, I think it's another one of those creative pursuits that, like cooking, that's it's good to have the exposure to it, whether
Yeah.
you end up doing it as a job or not. To be excited by it, interested in it, is enough to to give you another joy in life, isn't
Yeah.
it? Really,
yeah.
You know, I love playing music, even though I'm not particularly good at it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be. That's the thing.
No.
It's the same. Realistically, it's a similar thing with food.
Yeah.
Like you can be an okay cook and have a great meal.
Definitely, yep.
You know, and
we
it's
just,
just doing it.
we just took a bunch of our leaders up to Fraser Island for a couple of days for, post Christmas party.
Yeah.
And, all the chefs
I think you mean
cooked.
conference, don't you?
Yeah, something like that. All the chefs
For
cooked.
tax
A few
purposes.
bottle of wine came out, it's all sitting down the centre of the table. And then the guitars came out. And between Zasha, Harry, and Alan, they all started jamming.
Really?
And the rest of us just sitting there with their mouths open going, "Oh, God."
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
And I'm not a musical person, but it was so cool. It was so much fun.
Do you have music playing at home like much?
Yeah,
or?
Mel loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah.
We've all, particularly dinner. Like as soon as dinner starts getting made,
Yeah.
music has to be on. It's just a thing. I think it's.
Well, Mel has this thing when she takes the kids to school every day. She introduces the kids to old school music like
Oh, good.
Dire Straits, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
Just so then they get to know songs that you're supposed to know as a human being.
Definitely. Yep.
Every person should know The Gambler.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we go up the beach and The Gambler comes on and every single person singing it, even people from South America. And, I thought that's really cool.
It's awesome, and I love that.
Yeah.
I think I try to do that as much with Locke. I remember one day, one of the things that he put on the car, and then it was like, oh God, American Pie, Don McLean. I think I've listened to it about 48,000 times. So if you look on Spotify, take off 50 of those because they're all mine. But I think it's great for kids to get exposure to that kind of stuff as well. Right, really, really, really good. Particularly that old music. It's not that old, but still.
Feels like it.
Yeah, and definitely some days it definitely does. As I said to you before you came in, I was going to ask you the question because I know running was a big part of your life and probably still is, based on the shirt that you've got on there.
As a present, I did 31 10K runs in a row in January.
I saw that.
And so this is my Forrest Gump shirt she bought me especially.
Not far off it. It's not far off. Yeah. Wow, was that just a personal challenge?
Yeah, I just needed something. I was sort of feeling a bit flat at the end of last year, and went, I need to kick myself in the arse.
Yep.
And if I decide that I'm going to do something like that, I'll do it. If I'm wishy-washy about it, I might go running a few times a week, this month or whatever. But if I go, I must run 10Ks every single day for 31 days straight, then I'll make myself do it, whether it was pouring with rain or...
I was going to say that was the next thing, like every day.
It was so hot.
It's a serious
January
commitment. Yeah,
was
January.
just awful.
Oh, this year?
Yeah, just this...
Oh, yeah.
January just gone.
Oh, that's gross.
That's brutal.
But yeah, from a...
How long does 10K take you to do?
About an hour. Yeah.
For 10 kilometres?
Yeah. About 10Ks an hour. So...
Have you ever run 10Ks in your life?
No.
No, I haven't
Because
either.
I'll run 10K. What are you laughing at, Matthew? Never met a skinny king, have you? Fucking quite rude, I thought.
Lord Farquhar?
No, I have not. I have not run 10Ks.
I mean, I don't think I'm designed for running.
If a bar's going to shut,
Yeah.
and I've got a couple of
If I'm being chased, different conversation.
oh, Black Bear.
I was just in Canada recently and talking to some of the people that are there and about golf in Canada because I love golf, and there's sort of certain rules at certain golf clubs. One in particular where if there's a bear on the green, everyone just gets a par. I was like, it makes sense.
That's a great
rule, isn't it?
Nice.
Jesus.
Kidding me?
How often is that?
Well, the fact there's a rule about it says it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
There's
Bear mason.
That just, the whole idea of that just puts me off playing golf in Canada in the first place. So I just wouldn't do it.
I like the thrill of it.
You don't.
The thing is, those things they're big, like big bears make it run too.
And you don't get many second chances with
No,
those things.
no, not at all. But so yeah, the running thing that was kind of a therapy for you originally, was it? Or
Yeah, I mean, I've done it for a long time,
Yep.
for years before the whole burns thing and everything else. But when I came out of that, it was like, yeah, I need something that, because when I was in hospital, I came out, woke up in hospital and I couldn't walk and I couldn't even move. So it was, therapy was walking 4 steps and then going back and lying down and going back to bed sort of thing. And then the next day was 5 steps.
Yep.
And then, so by the time I left after 2 months of being in hospital, 4 months of being in hospital, 2 months of it being awake,
Yep.
I was in the gym running circles in the hospital gym, and then I left there and was like, okay, this is the thing that I need to do to keep me to keep those endorphins flowing and keep me actually happy. So that's, I've relied on that for the last 12, 13 years now to just that's exactly the January running 10 kilometers every day. It's like, I know that this is what my brain needs. It's nothing about being fit or getting, achieving an amazing physical goal. To me, it's just like, show myself that I've still got the discipline to do it is point A. And then point B is like, I know that the chemicals that I'm going to create by doing that is going to get me through this year of, and keep me happy.
We talked about this, I think, the other day in another episode. It's action comes before motivation. And it's like, that's not me. Someone else said that. Someone clearly quite smart. But it's, it's not about being motivated, because a lot of people will be like, oh, no, I'll do it, and it's like, just do it. Just do it, and then you'll get motivated, to do it. So did it get easier across the month when you're doing 31
yeah, definitely. Except, it was brutally hot, and there were days where I'd just go, and when you get busy for a week or whatever, you're like, oh, no, I've got to do the run this time, or you've just got to fit it into whatever. Yeah. So you do it at midday in 35 degree heat.
At 99.9% humidity,
And it's the humidity that gets you. It was a killer. But
it's like running through mud.
So, yeah, there was certainly days when it was cooler, that's just so much easier. But, yeah, I think this was like the second or third day I did it down on the Noosa River, and it was pouring with rain. And so then I got, like, chafing between... Sorry, Tony.
We're back in the same region.
Yeah, we're pretty much around about the same region, but yeah, so then I had to live through chafing for the next week.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
things you don't think about.
Yeah, pretty right.
I was going to ask you that. Did you mix up the route every day to make it a little bit more interesting?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because pretty hilly where you are?
Yeah, hilly. It was all bush tracks mostly, apart from the occasional river run down at Noosa. But yeah, that made it a lot more fun. It's when you're out in the bush as well, it's a bit more, enjoyable, and there's, birds and there's trees and flowers and things to look at instead of just running along a road.
Yeah. So that black line on a pool, if you're doing laps, it's just...
And I'm lucky enough that I live out in a place where there's heaps of trail. There's the Noosa Trail Network, so there's just... You pick a line and run it.
Just go, and you're going to come out somewhere at the other end, not like in the middle of nowhere in the bush and having to, let off some kind of flare for someone to come and find you. So what's next, mate? What's on for this year, apart from some events and bits and pieces, and maybe food trucks turning up at people's parties?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's Noosa Eat Drink Festival. There's the Curated Plate. There's Moreton Bay Food and Wine Festival. Obviously, there's Beef Week. There's so I'm sort of involved in all those things, and I love the excitement of those sorts of things. It's a bit like I was saying with meeting other chefs and working with other people. That's a nice way to get inspired as well. See the way other people do stuff. So it's there's also things like I've been for years involved in sort of going to, and it's just that's just sort of come about. I don't really know how, but going to schools and working with high school kids to put together. Actually, probably mostly started at Beenleigh High School down in Brizzy and Gympie High School, where they've got their own school farms. So originally, the principal of Beenleigh High called me and said, "Hey, we've got a school farm. We grow heaps of stuff here. We want to do a big showcase lunch using all the stuff from the farm. Will you come down and spend some time with the kids?"
And so they cook it and they do the whole thing.
So we do it all together over a few days, prep it all, serve it, and it's become, Beenleigh became in the end like 280 people, 4 courses for lunch, and it's situations like Gympie's the same, where they grow the chickens, they grow the beef, send the cow off to, whatever.
Have a bad day and then
but they do, exactly. Strawberries, gooseberries, zucchinis, all the different greens and stuff. And a few weeks before they go, yep, this is what we've got. I'll write a menu, and then we all prep it all together and serve it. And
that's cool. It's
a nice thing to do because the kids get the satisfaction of, because I work with the ag kids and the hospo kids, so they all the ag kids get to see the food that they've grown from a seed on a plate in front of all these people who are loving it. It's like that's cool, pretty good, That's great. And and the whole idea, I guess, is to get more kids excited about hospitality. And it's a really hard thing to sell. It really is. Yeah. Like everyone knows, it's it's like, yeah, cool, you work your ass off for 15 years and still get paid bugger all to, it's not really an easy sell. But if you can get them excited about it by them seeing how after 33 years, I still love what I do.
Yeah.
Then that might be just that, even if out of a group of 20 of them, if you get one or two that are like, hey, I could see myself doing that for a job.
Yeah.
And often you do. Often you go back the next year and they go, yeah, this person, that person went off and get an apprenticeship after you were here. And
that's awesome.
And that's nice. It's nice to be out.
Good satisfaction.
Satisfaction that is
definitely
priceless. That's the thing. It's like that's worth everything.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask you one question from that list of questions that we sent you, just to make it easier for you. Because you've had a lot in your life. There's been a lot. You've been through some things that you don't wish anyone to go through. What I think probably for me, the one thing that I want to know from you is what's the biggest success? What do you think the biggest success you've had in your life is? It's a tough one.
That is a really tough question.
And I know it's tough because we asked each other the same question.
Oh, really?
Because we're like, we're going to ask this, we're going to ask it to each other. And we were, I don't know, it's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got,
I'll come back to you.
Corey, how long have we got? About 4 minutes left. So
Yeah. Biggest success. Jeez. I don't know. Yeah, that is a really hard question. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when you said that was like being a dad.
Yep.
And I guess most people would say that. It sounds a bit corny, but
Mate, it's
Tough question.
I'd rather be remembered for being a good dad than being a good chef.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
There's a soundbite right there.
It's because that's the legacy that lasts. If you're a good parent, then you're producing the next generation of good people, hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, that's way more important than somebody going, "Oh yeah, he cooked a good meal once." That guy. So yeah, to me, that's success.
It's a good answer.
Well, yeah, and I love being a chef, and I like I say, I've been doing it 33 years now professionally. I still love every single day that I get to go and do it. I guess that's success that
Not
that
too
I
many
still
people, mate, get to say that.
No, definitely not. And I guess I'm in a different situation where I'm privileged in the fact that I get to pick and choose what I do now, and I've I feel really lucky that I've got all these people all over the countryside that I get to go and visit, and they're my friends. That I've got this network of people that I love and are a part of my life, and that's my job. But yeah, I guess the success that I've had in cooking is that I keep myself excited about it. I love it. I'm just endlessly curious to learn more and more.
Yeah.
And there's endless amounts you can learn, isn't there?
Never stops, mate.
And that's, I think probably where a lot of chefs sort of leave the industry, they're bored with it or whatever, because they don't push them. If you're working the same place and just doing the same thing every day, I'd be just bored to death.
It's going to make it hard.
It's an effort to stay relevant.
Yeah,
What I mean? And
definitely.
as soon as you start to do that and you try and get ahead of the bell curve week on week, I think that's what generates the interest in staying relevant. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Some people just get bored doing the same shit and wonder why. But if you're pushing yourself, the motivation will follow, I think.
Yeah.
You've eaten some amazing food in all your travels. Is there a standout dish that you just look back on and you go, oh my God, I remember the day I ate that?
Gee, that's another really good question. So,
Maybe we should have given him that one.
That's.
Or
It's
a
always
death row
this-
meal? Like what would you have? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm absolutely like mad seafood person. So to me, often the things that I remember food-wise are not the fancy stuff. It's always this very simplest stuff. It's like that perfectly cooked piece of fish just with Bermudier poured over it.
Yeah.
Good. To me, it's like it's the sort of food that would be memorable to me is the sort of stuff that happens at Market Bistro. I'm not just piss in your pocket. It's like that's the sort of food that I want to eat because it's just pure, simple, excellence.
And the thing with simple food, and we've had this conversation before, it's almost the hardest to do because you've got to get great ingredients and just do as little as possible as you can to screw it up.
The hardest thing in the world that I've ever had to try and teach is restraint.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
they always want to put one more thing on.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it's like, just put your fucking tweezers away and just trust the product.
Not that there's anything wrong with tweezers
No,
in the
it's
kitchen.
great.
But it's like, you know, I always say you get a perfectly vine-ripened tomato, and you've executed the patience to perfection to leave it on the vine, because the first thing you want to do is pick it.
Yep.
A little bit early so the grubs or the moths or whatever don't get to it, but it's had its entire life on the vine ready for that moment to just snap it off. Cut it in half, add some salt and some olive oil. There's probably a few things on God's earth that taste as good as that.
Yep.
But the first thing people want to do is add this and add that, or add this and cook it. Or, you know, you don't need to do that for that tomato dish to be perfect. The same as a piece of fish. Like,
Definitely.
give it a bit of a lick in the pan and have some salt and some olive oil and some lemon juice on it.
Yep.
You know, but spend the time trying to find the best possible fish you can.
Absolutely, that's exactly what it is. It's sourcing the best stuff. I did a thing for the launch of Noosa Eat Drink last week, and we were on the ferry on the Noosa River beside the oyster reefs that they put into the river, and I was showing people how to shuck an oyster and talking about oysters and everything else. And there's a little book that I've got called Oyster, and it's an Australian book, and it's all about the whole oyster industry in Australia. And there's a quote in there from by Gay Bilson at the beginning in the introduction, and it says, "The true art of gastronomy is to respect perfection." And it's like that's all the line that runs through my head every single time. Like, it's a perfect sentence about food, isn't it? It's like, don't mess with it. An oyster is a great example of that. Open it up and eat it.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's the best oyster, it's going to be the best thing you can possibly eat.
That's what I say. A restaurant that wins is the restaurant that has the best suppliers.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if you can get a supplier to supply you with consistently delicious beef or fish or fruit and vegetables, you just...
Yeah.
I'll challenge you, because I just go, I reckon my suppliers are the best in the game.
Yep.
But we've just got to make sure that we're keeping relevant with them, and we're always chasing that level of perfection from parsley when it comes in, or chervil, or fish, or beef, or because that's what's going to motivate the team in the kitchen to to win. And if I'm just going to get better produce from you, I'm just so far ahead of you before you even open the doors of the restaurant. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and part of that, I think, is teaching the staff that are working with that product to respect it, and understand it. And the best way to get them to respect that is to go to where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Take the whole staff to the farm where you get your stuff from, and they'll go, "Oh wow, that's what's involved in growing that carrot."
Yeah.
Which is like, it's just a carrot.
And they won't waste it when they're cooking with it, and they'll look after it when it comes in.
And then you see how relevant it is when you're paying $2 something a kilo for them. You go, fucking those poor bastards.
Yeah.
You know, what they have to endure to give you perfect carrots and get $2 a kilo.
Yeah,
for
but
it.
it's straight.
Definitely. Fuck,
Yeah.
it just winds me up. But
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, eh?
That's the world we live in.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll probably wrap it up.
Excellent.
Thanks so much for
guys.
coming in, mate.
Thanks
It's been
for having me.
great. Great to see
Great to
you.
see you again.
Yeah.
Really
Easy,
good.
mate. Appreciate the insight into your career and your life.
Thank you.
It's epic, and the Sunshine Coast is very lucky to have you. Beating
Nice
the drum of
Agreed.
local produce, it's fantastic.
Nice to call it.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you.
All right. See you
Thanks,
next week.